Hi everyone, welcome. I'm glad you all made it. So today we will talk about the Ethiopian community in Israel. I invited Avezu. She's shlicha in Philadelphia at the Temple University at the Hillel. She will tell her personal story and the community story. I think that's basically it. Avezu will forward that to you. Let me just open the presentation.
But I begin with me. I'm Avezu Fanta. I born in Ethiopia. I come to Israel when I was 1 year old in Operation Shlomo. Something that you need to know about me is like I don't know very good English. I'll be with tension because sometimes I stuck with the words. I'm the Israeli Fellow on Temple University in Philadelphia for the last 7 months. And let's start. So we start with the Lost Tribe. It's very interesting that everybody called the Ethiopian community the Lost Tribe, because I all the time question mark if it really was Lost Tribe, and if really people don't know that the Jewish Ethiopian was living in Ethiopia. So basically, we don't call ourselves Ethiopian Jewish. We call ourselves Beta Israel. Beta Israel is the traditional name of our community. If you translate it to English, it's the home of Israel. So it was exist in Ethiopia for more than 200 years, and a lot of the Ethiopian Jews will live in Gondar, in the north of the Ethiopia, in this area. And the communication was mostly in the holidays, all the Ethiopian gathering together, all the Ethiopian Jews, and become and celebrate all the holidays together. So we prefer to call ourselves Beta Israel, not the Ethiopian community, but now it's become very popular to call the Ethiopian community in Israel Ethiopian Jewish, and not the traditional name, Beta Israel. So two exceptions where the Ethiopian Jews come from. One, the popular one, is from King Solomon and Queen of Sheba. I basically don't believe in this exception. The second one is the tribe of Dan. We have 12 tribes in the Israeli Republic. One of the tribe was the tribe of Dan. And when the tribe was break out, the tribe of Dan go to Africa, and a lot of people think this is the Beta Israel tribe. It's become from tribe of Dan. Okay. So, few things about Beta Israel. So Beta Israel, I'll tell you, Jews that live 2,000 years in the region of Ethiopia. When I told you question mark about the Lost Tribe, in 1552, the Jews of Ethiopia renewed the relationship with the Egyptian Jews. It's not surprising because Egypt is also in Europe. One of the rabbi of the Egyptian Jewish community that called Eldad Yadani was travel to Ethiopia and find a lot of Ethiopian Jews, and reunite the relationship with the Ethiopian Jews. So the diaspora of Jewish Egyptian and diaspora of Jewish Ethiopian was very close for 100 years until the rise of the Solomonic region, Solomonic kingdom that was in Ethiopia. And this kingdom was רדפה.
רדפה?
כן.
Chasing.
כן. Was chasing Beta Israel, basically. So Solomonic kingdom was not good for Beta Israel. It was killing a lot of Jews in the 16th, 17th century. So what the Ethiopian Jews do, it's protect their religion by not show how much they study Torah or pray a lot, and they stop also the communication with the Egyptian Jews. So the relationship in the 16th, 17th century is break off, and the Ethiopian Jews again become not with communication with other diaspora in the world. In the 18th century, Beta Israel understand that there are Jews that living in Israel. This is the first time that they really understand that there are Jews that living in Israel. It's before that Israel was exist, but they understand that, okay, maybe we can go to Israel because there are really Jews that living in Israel. And basically, you need to understand that one thing that saved this community for 2,000 years was the dream about Jerusalem. This was the goal of them, to come and to reunite to the lost land, to Israel, to Jerusalem. They call it Jerusalem and not Israel. Okay, this is the map of Ethiopia, of Africa. So you can see Ethiopia, and you can see the Gondar. If you want, you can point there, Adi. Okay, and you can see Tigray, the one that close to Gondar. Okay, I show you that because a lot of people don't understand that there's Ethiopian that was living in Gondar and Ethiopian that lives in Tigray. Tigray Ethiopian called Tigrinya, and people that live in Gondar was Amharic. We call ourselves Beta Israel, but we speak different language. But the only thing that was renamed us, the Tigray Ethiopian and the Amharic Jewish Ethiopian, was the prayer, and the prayer not was in Hebrew, it was in Gez. Gez, it's a secret language, more similar to Arabic. Okay, this picture is Yosef Halevi. Yosef Halevi is a rabbi, a French rabbi, that in 1862 come to Ethiopia, to Addis Ababa, and decide to understand if there's really Ethiopian Jews that live in Ethiopia. He come there and he meet the big Ethiopian community that live there. And he tell them like they need to study Hebrew, they need to pray in Hebrew. It's so funny because a lot of the stories, like the rabbi don't believe him that he's a Jew. So in the first, they don't let him to pray together. And then he showed them like a lot of things that he knows from the Torah, because the Ethiopian tradition is so much different from the rabbinic halacha. Rabbinic halacha, it's when the rabbi when the rabbi like, איך אומרים, מפרשים את התורה. לא שומעים אותך.
Your sound is up.
Okay. When the rabbis are reading the Torah and they're giving like their example and how they understood the things from the Torah.
Yeah. So Ethiopian Jewish believe that we cannot do it. What's written in the Torah, it's what you can do, and you cannot change the Torah, and you cannot decide that one law say this, and maybe you can do this. And it's also, it's very reasonable because when you live in the Western world, so a lot of the Bible is law, it's need to change when you live in a Western world, but when you live in third world country, in a village, a lot of the Bible laws, it's very similar to the old Biblic day. So we don't need to change a lot of things. So Yosef Halevi was there for 6 months, and then he come back to Europe, to say to all the Iraq rabbi that he find other diaspora Jews, they don't believe him. Some of them, yes, they believe. And eventually he died. But one thing he really do, he tried to say to all the students of him to really fight for the Ethiopian Jews, to unite with the other diaspora. And it's good because one of his students, Yaakov Patzavlovich, was after that come to Ethiopia. And because of him today, you see a lot of Ethiopian Jews in Israel, but I say it after, not now. So in 1939, the contact with the Ethiopian Jews again broke up because Italy controlled the Ethiopian region for 4 years. 1939 is also the second word with all the words. So again, the Ethiopian Jews stay alone without connection to the other diaspora. Now I want to show you a YouTube movie to give you example how Ethiopian people live in the early 70s, when one people come to do a movie about the Ethiopian Jews, and you can see the fear of them to speak about religion, because in this time the communism was ruled the Ethiopian country.
Working like the Russian or the Cubans marching.
Before going to Ethiopia, we studied maps of the Semine Mountains and consulted with Falashas living in the west. As a result, we knew the location of some remote Falasha villages, unfamiliar even to the guide. Pack horses loaded with camera gear, we began a 10-hour trek toward one isolated Falasha village. We were now joined by an army officer who boasted that he had killed 8 student rebels. In the hours to come, the guide who was lured unwittingly into a Falasha village would try to get out of his predicament by intimidating the villagers and mistranslating whenever the Falashas became too controversial. There it was. Fearful of the government officials, the Falashas would answer evasively, at first even denying having heard of Israel. Often a gesture revealed more than the spoken word. Everyone was nervous as interviews were conducted in a village that officially should never have been entered.
The House of Israel.
Are they still able to carry on their religion here in this village? Do they carry on?
Yes, around here,
There are many of us.
our religion is different. There are many of us. We believe in the Torah.
Here comes the rabbi.
I'm our friend.
Can he show us his Bible? How long have they been living here in this village?
A long time. How long do you think?
Our fathers' fathers died here.
Are they happy living here? Do they enjoy living here?
Yes.
After he created the world on the 7th day, God rested. Do you understand now?
Now we are having a little discussion here about the Old Testament, and he was saying, I was telling him that there are some people who go by the New Testament that don't have the same habits they do. And I was saying they have improved some, and he was saying that's not good. And he gave the, for example, the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a sacred commandment that it should be respected. And these people on the Sabbath do not do anything. They don't walk, they don't work. Sabbath is resting.
Do they have much contact with other Jewish people in Ethiopia?
Do you have contact with other falashas in the area?
What kind of contact? We do have religious gatherings. Yes, we do get together. Yes, we do have our reasons for getting together. We get together for special occasions. By the law of the Torah, we get together on Yom Kippur, Sig, Passover. On those special days, when we celebrate those holidays, our Kohen calls us together. Everyone comes together, congregates together, and we study the commandments, listen to the teachings, and do all the special things.
Do they like it here? Do they want to go somewhere else?
Do they
know about Israel and all that?
No, you'd ask.
Do you know of a country by the name of Israel?
A foreign country? No, we have no way of knowing. We were born in Ethiopia, but we've heard rumors. We don't know if this place is in the country or outside. These days, when we listen to the radio and hear about what goes on outside the country, we hear Israel mentioned. But ourselves, we were born here, inside Ethiopia.
I've heard of it by radio, but they've been born, their forefathers have been born in Ethiopia, and they're Ethiopians, they know of Ethiopia. But now they hear by radio some things about Israel.
But they're happy to be in Ethiopia.
Are you happy to be living in Ethiopia? Even if you're not happy, you haven't got a choice.
What can we do?
These people think you have a connection with Israel. But you are Ethiopians, whether you like it or not. This is your country.
Yes, we are just simple people. We don't know about these things.
Our fathers died here. We are already old. We will end our lives here too.
He says, their forefathers' roots have been rooted here, and they have grown old here, and this is the country they know.
Has it changed for them since the revolution? Has it got better for them here?
Has it become better for you since the revolution?
Sure, the new laws are good. For example, the law concerning land distribution and the laws concerning equal work opportunities. But the peasants' associations, which were set up to implement these new laws for the benefit of the poor, have not done so. And we are still suffering. We are suffering. The hunger, the many problems, the anguish is still on our shoulders. We still carry the burden. It's the peasants' associations which refuse to implement the new laws when it comes to us.
Do you think you'll ever leave Ethiopia?
Man does not follow the path of his own thoughts. It is the will of God that determines his destiny. The path God chooses for us, you can be sure will be the right one.
It's extraordinary they've been able to keep this religion, which is rather very old-fashioned.
Our fathers, it comes down from our fathers.
We are strong because of our religion. We don't want to break the commandments. We are prisoners of the Torah.
Are they also doing the pottery and selling things to tourists like we see, like we've heard about in
Yes, the women and all of us work hard.
We work hard, but they take it from us without paying.
What do you mean without paying? You give it for free? Free?
No, we work hard with all the effort we have, and then others take it. They don't leave us anything. If they pay us very little.
To say that you work for nothing, that's not good to say. There's a peasants' association. If they hear about this, they will take some action. There is a peasants' association. There is a local governor working on these problems.
Forget about the peasants' association. All they care about is themselves.
You shouldn't say such things.
They supply all the ironwork, the iron tool, the pottery, the household goods, and weaving. for the people around here, and that is now supported by a new hope, which is they can harvest with farming too, but that they still do that.
While the guides were distracted at one end of the village, some of us had a few moments alone with the falashas. Immediately, one young man took out an outlawed book from Israel and showed us that in the isolation of the Simeon Mountains, he has taught himself to read Hebrew. Also treasured was this Polaroid photograph of their Bible, the Torah, taken by a tourist in pre-revolutionary times.
Ask him who it is, son.
Mize. הוא יודע? מי נתן לה? תורה?
תורה.
כן. שלום.
You hear the word falasha a lot in the movie. Falasha, they don't call us Jewish in Ethiopia, they call us falasha. Falasha, the meaning of falasha is strangers and people that don't belong here. It speaks about the land, the law of the land. The law of the land was existed in the 19th century. It was basically, if you are Jewish, you cannot buy the land. You can work the land, but the land does not belong to you. That it means you work the land, but the profit of the land and the money that from the land is go to the government. And if you want to buy the land, you need to convert yourself to Christianity. This is the law of the land, and the purpose was to make Beta Israel community more and more poor, and it's become more and more pressure about the community to become Christianity. If you don't want to be poor, you can convert yourself to Christianity and you not be any more poor. So basically, a lot of people today think falasha is falashmura, but we speak about the falashmura when we finish this presentation. It's very different. But falasha is the old name. Until today, when I meet people, especially in USA, Ethiopian Christianity, and I tell them, yeah, I'm Ethiopian Jewish. You are falasha. And it's funny because my mother ate this word, but this is the word to recognize the Jewish in Ethiopia. From 1946 to 1973, thousands of Ethiopians live in Israel, but in secret, and they don't have citizenship because I tell you, a lot of the rabbis, especially after Israel was born, was argue about the Jewish identity of Beta Israel, if they are Jewish, if they are not Jewish. So this was a lot of problem, and I told you about Yosef Levi, and one of his students, Yaakov Patalovich, was one of the rabbis that all the time, when Israel was already born, tried to say, you need to bring these Jews to Israel. But one of the rabbis that really listened to them was Ovadia Yosef. Ovadia Yosef is a very famous rabbi in Israel, Alav Shalom, that was the Sephardic leader, and he decided to look about what Yosef Levi, Yaakov Patlalovich, and all these Sephardic rabbis say about Beta Israel community in the question of identity of Judaism, and he decided the Beta Israel are Jewish and they must immigrate to Israel. They must bring them to Media. And in 1982, they start the Operation Moses. And Operation Moses become a big secret in Ethiopia. And the movie, when you see that, a lot of people say, we don't know where is Israel, we don't know what you're talking about. And just when the soldiers go, they start to speak about Israel because they're really afraid that something will bother them and someone will expose them about them decide to go to Israel in some point. Because in Ethiopia, one thing in Ethiopia history, that if you are Ethiopian, you belong to the land. You can be Jewish, you can be Muslim, you can be Christianity, but first of all, you are Ethiopian. This is one thing that all the Ethiopian people grow up. So love to other country, it's a problem. You need to love just Ethiopia. So Operation Moses starts, and thousands of Ethiopians, 8,000 Jews come to Israel, but thousands of Ethiopians die in the way to Israel, because this operation, was like my operation. I'm the spoiler operation. My operation was a plane that wait for me in the Addis Ababa, and I go. This operation was to go thousands of miles to Sudan, to stay in Sudan for 5-6 months, and then the Mossad come. It was a very big deal operation, and a lot of people die in this operation.
These people died in Sudan, or they died in Ethiopia?
So in the way, and in Sudan, in the 6-7 months that they stay in the refugee camp, almost 2,000 people died from anger, a lot of illness, and a lot of problem because they stay in Sudan for 5 months, 6 months. So it was a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So the dream eventually will come through, and more of thousands of people succeed to finish this journey and come to Israel. But my community, we never forget all the 1,000 people that really die in the way to Israel. So we do a memorial event in Mount of Artel in Yerushalayim every year to remember all these people that die. And they pray, go by the Kesim. Kesim is our rabbi of the community. This is the Andarta memorial. And this is our Kesim. They dress up like this. So my uncle was one of the people that succeed to do the journey to Israel from Sudan. And eventually what he did is go to the government, and because he know that Operation Solomon going to happen, so he say my brother name, my father name, my mother name, everybody, and we succeed to come in 1991 in Operation Shimon. I was living in Jerusalem for 5 years. My siblings and my mother do ulpan, and my father and my mother do ulpan for Hebrew. For me, it's not needed because I was 1 year old. And then I moved to Nes Tziyona. Nes Tziyona is a tiny city in Israel. So to live in Israel as the Ethiopian community, Zani, you need to understand that to live in Israel for the Ethiopian community was very rough because we have a lot of discrimination, racism cases, and everything that happened in all these years that we live in Israel. But the most strong one was happened last summer. And last summer, we see a few minutes the movie, what happened last summer. But you need to understand, זה בסוף. מכינה אותו? Okay. So last summer, one of young Ethiopian church was shot by a police officer. And this was the peak point of all the Ethiopian community, like say, enough, we cannot deal with it. And it's also very funny to see how our parents was protest 20 years ago when they feel discrimination and racism. It was very quiet protest, very try to understand us, why you do it, we Jewish like you. And now you see the generation that's raised up in Israel, grew up in Israel, protest, and basically, I think they are more Israeli than Ethiopian, but you can see the change between two generations, and you can start to see what happened last summer.
A few thousand Israeli demonstrators, many of Ethiopian descent, took to the streets of Tel Aviv on Wednesday to protest against police brutality following the death of an Israeli Ethiopian man. 24-year-old Yehuda Biada was shot and killed by an Israeli policeman on January 18. Israeli media said the man was wielding a knife and was mentally ill. Protesters blocked the highway and burned rubbish during the demonstration. Israeli police arrested 11 people over the protest, and 6 police officers sustained minor injuries, a police spokesman said in a statement.
Units in Tel Aviv are on standby to respond to any types of incidents that could take place, disturbances or on any other scale. And that is after there is a demonstration taking place by the Ethiopian community. Prior to the demonstration, police units met with the leaders of the communities in order to make sure that the situation will be calm and quiet. Our units will respond to any incidents if they'll take place whatsoever.
Israel is home to around 140,000 people with Ethiopian heritage.
This is Solomon Taka, and this is the parents of him. This was very, very, like a lot of young people, and the young generation was very mad about this situation, especially that 6 months before, there was also Ethiopian young that was shot and died by a police officer. So now you can see that we speak in the Ethiopian, like Ethiopian Israeli people speak a lot of police brutality, but for me, it's not strange because from the beginning, when the Ethiopian community comes to Israel, you can see the discrimination. It's also not strange for me that it's happening in Israel because every aliyah, every immigration that comes to Israel passed some discrimination, and we don't study, so it's also funny because we continue to do it. So the community today, we are united when we speak about a lot of problems, but you need to understand, but because a lot of Ethiopian, like I give example, like my brother, he live Beta Israel because Beta Israel is some traditional way to live the Torah. And it becomes Sephardic Haredi. So it's very different. So you can see a lot of Ethiopians that become believers of Nachman, Meuman, Rabbi Breslev, and you can see a lot of Ethiopians that come from like to be Sephardic Haredi, and not a lot of people stay in contact, but it's also a problem. Because this is our tradition, and you can see it like gone away because a lot of people believe that if they live now in Israel, they need to follow up in all the Rabbanic halacha, and they need to catch up all the Rabbanic halacha. Beside the bad way that happened in Israel, we have also a lot of good things. 30 years of Israel, 35 years of the Ethiopian community. You have a lot of people that's very successful, Ethiopian successful people in Israel. It's not just the bad things. So, I basically, if you can open, like if you have a question for me about something specific that you want to know, ask me. But this is just my knowledge about Beta Israel and the community living in Israel. And it's very basic because I'm not
investigated.
Yeah, this is like the story that I grew up in my own. So if you have a question, specific question about other things about the law, this is why I open if this is the really lost tribe or people try to ignore Beta Israel. So this is one of the questions I all the time deal. When I grow up, I all the time like search for questions from my grandpa and my father. Maybe they try to ignore you, or it's a really was lost tribe, because I don't believe it was lost tribe. But if people want to call it lost tribe, so make it lost tribe. If you have a question, feel free. Also about my personal life, feel free.
What do most of the Beta population, what kind of integration into Israeli society do they have? Do you have integrated school systems? In other words, do the children in the Ethiopian Israelis, are they going to school with other Israelis?
Yeah, of course.
Well, do you live in places where you're going to interact with non-Ethiopian Israelis?
So, okay, integration. Okay, Ethiopian and Israeli, non-Israeli Ethiopian study together, do everything together. I personality go to a religion school with other non-Ethiopian people. Also, when you ask integration, you can see very quickly how we become part of the society. Let's take my family, for example. My family married, like 4 of my sisters married to non-Ethiopian people. So it's not like if you speak about, I think the name in America is segregation, you cannot see it in Israel.
Really? Okay.
No. It's if you see it, it's going to be in the places that you have a lot of Ethiopian people that live in the same neighborhood. So we can see a lot of Ethiopian people that go with other non-Ethiopian to the same school. But in Israel, it's very different because you cannot see segregation. If we speak segregation about Israel, we speak about poor people and rich people. This is the kind that we speak about segregation in Israel. It's not color.
And what about in the job market? What kind of occupations do most of Ethiopian Jews? Are they in a particular industry, or are they just pretty much spread into lots of different industries, or what?
So you can see the difference between the older generation and the younger generation, me. So if you see the older generation, they come without education and nothing. So a lot of them will basically do the cleaning job and all these things. And the younger generation, it's basically everywhere. You can see today a lot of people that do every kind of job. You don't have a type of job for Ethiopian. We don't have it.
I will just add that also the Ethiopians are serving in the army like everyone else. I mean, it's also something that you can see, like education and work. They're integral part of the Israel society, and they're going to do their service in the army like everyone else.
And what about the police force?
You need to understand that Ethiopian not considered minority in Israel, okay? Because minority in Israel consider just people that's non-Jewish. So it's very complicated. And the segregation you can see when people become the minority. Like Arab, you can see like the difference. You have Arab school and Jewish school. It's very different and it's very complicated. And you cannot compare it to America situation because it's very, very different. Also,
but obviously,
police brutality, I believe police brutality is very different from America,
But for instance, you showed this newsreel about there was a protest by against the police.
Yeah.
So are the police integrated in any way with?
You have a lot of Ethiopian police.
There are a lot of.
We have a lot of Ethiopian policemen, yeah.
There are, okay.
Yeah, I think this is my theory. One of the problems in Israel with the police, especially when we speak about police brutality, don't think about America. In Israel, we have a problem with police brutality because our police, to become police in Israel, it's very easy. You don't need degree also. So this is the problem in Israel, that you have a lot of stupid people with the power. And this is my, this is why I think it's not the first case, and it's not happened just with the Ethiopian community police brutality. You can see it in every poor neighborhood, and poor neighborhood, it's not just Ethiopian. It's mixed with every other cultures. And we have 2 cases of people that non-Ethiopian that shot and died by policemen.
There is a question in the chat. Evan, do you want to read it, or I will read it? I will? Okay. Are there any non-Jewish Ethiopians in Israel? How difficult it is for non-Jewish Ethiopian to visit Beta Israel family in Israel?
What do you mean meeting the non-Jewish?
Okay, first of all, let's go for the first question.
Okay.
Are there any non-Jewish Ethiopians in Israel?
The most famous church, Ethiopian church, existed in Jerusalem. The Sheba Church, very beautiful. If you go to the Jerusalem, go to see it. It's a very popular church. A lot of non-Jewish Ethiopian come to Israel, to Jerusalem, to visit this church. Beautiful church. I say it all the time because I was learning very close to the church, and was like my way to go and see the church because it's very beautiful. So you have a lot of non-Jewish Ethiopians that live in Israel, but they live in Jerusalem. Most of them are Christianity Orthodox, bishop, priest, nuns, and all these things, and their family. And other things, if you ask me, the connection between us to the non-Jewish, it's very complicated because we are just you from Ethiopia, oh my God, I'm also Ethiopian. We speak a little bit in Ethiopian language, and I'm like, okay, and bye. ומה השאלה השנייה?
השאלה השנייה, how difficult it is for non-Jewish Ethiopian to visit Beta Israel family in Israel. You mean if they're related, or just if they're related?
לא דיברנו על הפלסטינים. If they related, you mean?
How would they be related?
If they're related.
Evan, do you want to explain your question?
I will think there's no more Ethiopian Jews in Ethiopia, right?
You have the Falashmura, and we want to talk about, because of this, I tell you, when I explain you what is Falasha, what is Falashmura, so I tell you Falasha, it's the meaning to the Ethiopian Jews that live in Ethiopia, and Falashmura. Today you have, I think, 4,000 Ethiopian Jews that live in a refugee camp in Addis Ababa, that the government need to decide if to bring them, not to bring them to Israel. We call them Falashmura. Falashmura mean people that was Jewish in the 18th century, and then because the things I tell you with the law of the land become Christian because they don't want to be poor, and now they want to come back to the roots and become Jewish. In the community, you have a lot of people that say, no, their problem, they cannot come to Israel, and you have majority of the community say they need to come because majority of the community have a lot of family from the Falashmura. That live until today in the refugee camp, and we don't have government, but the decision from the government, it's not accepted yet if to bring them, or maybe they need to stay there.
I have a question. The Ethiopians, the Jewish Ethiopians that obviously came to Israel under the law of return and have no problem with citizenship. What about the Christian Ethiopians that are there?
The Christian Ethiopians that live in Israel are the same people that they don't have citizens. It's like we have a lot of church in Jerusalem, Armenic church, Cherkessian church, all kind of church these people that live there, it's the land of the Christianity. We have a lot in Jerusalem. The land is not just for like belongs to Israel. In the Christianity part, it belongs to the Christianity United something that in Europe, and they give to the Ethiopian Christianity permission to build church there. They live there in illegal workers, but they are not citizens, legal citizens, like all the people that live in the Christianity place in Jerusalem.
None of the Christians.
In other words, if you're a Christian, you can't get citizenship in Israel?
You can, just if you live before Israel was existed.
Oh, but in other words, a Christian can't move to Israel and become an Israeli citizen.
No. He can do it if you marry to a Jewish woman.
Yeah. Okay.
And Jewish men, I don't know, but I know for 100% Jewish women.
I think it's very hard to become a citizenship of Israel if you're not Jewish. Like it's hard for me if I would like to be a U.S. citizen. It will be a very long and hard process.
I don't know if it's even the same. I mean, can you ever become an Israeli citizen if you're Christian or any non-Jewish?
Yeah, it's just a very long process. The thing is that if you're Jewish, you immediately can be a citizenship without doing a lot of the process. But if you're not, you need to do all that process.
So you can become an Israeli citizen even if you're not Jewish, and if you never become Jewish.
Yeah, well, you have Muslim Israelis as well.
Well, but they lived there before. They were there before.
You have a lot of people, you have a lot of refugees that live in Israel. So one of the questions is to give them a citizen or not to give them a citizenship.
Right.
But they live there. You can live there, and it's very different. But think about every country in the world, they have the law who become citizens and not become citizens. So it's not very different, because if I want to be a citizen in USA, it's a very long process to be a citizen.
Yeah.
I know people that not Jewish that become citizens in Israel, and it's just because they have grandpa or grandmother that was Jewish. They are not Jewish, that just have like heritage Jewish. So you have like a little thing to become a citizen, but it's very long process to become citizens, like every other country, I think.
Yeah, the only thing is that if you're Jewish, you have like an easier process. So let's say it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I have to leave, but thanks. Very interesting.
Us.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I'd echo the same sentiments. It's very, very interesting.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I will say thank you very much, Avezu. And thank you all for joining us for the Zoom meeting to the online lecture, where I see something in the chat. Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed. And I hope to see you in the next event. Avezu, thank you very much again. And if you have any questions after, you can ask me and I will ask Avezu.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Be safe.
Thank you very much. You too.